Guys, welcome to this recording for English 2. I'm Mrs. Cager, and in this video we are going to review colons. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to share this video within a video that does a really good job of explaining what is a colon and what is its job.
Hello grammarians! In this video I'm going to tell you about a piece of punctuation called the colon. The colon is these two little dots right here, one stacked on top of the other, and it has quite a few functions, just like a lot of other pieces of punctuation. The idea of this linking function is that the colon can link an independent or dependent clause with another independent or dependent clause or a phrase or a word when there's a strong connection between the two things that it's linking. So if I want to tell someone what I think about two movies about animals, I could say, both movies are great, but Sky Pal has one thing that makes it better. Dogs that play sports. This is one sentence with two parts that are linked with this colon. So the first part says, both movies are great, but Sky Pal has one thing that makes it better. And that could stand alone as a sentence, but it doesn't tell us what that one thing is. So the colon comes in and tells us, I'm about to tell you what that thing is. Dogs that play sports. So in this case, the colon just sort of serves as a connection between the purple part of the sentence and the yellow part of the sentence. Another example is something like, going skydiving made me face one of my greatest fears. Parachutes. Right, again, this colon is sort of linking these two parts of the sentence where one answers an unanswered question from the first part, like, what is this greatest fear? Well, it's parachutes. The colon is here to link between this whole independent clause and the word parachutes. I could just as well say, going skydiving made me face one of my greatest fears, period. That's a perfectly fine sentence. But without a colon linking to what that fear is, that sentence kind of just leaves us wondering. So another sort of subset of the colon's ability to link things is that it can introduce things. One thing that the colon can introduce is a list. I could say, we needed to find 3 more items on the scavenger hunt. A 4-leaf clover, a cauldron, and an abandoned ship. The second thing a colon can introduce is an item. If I'm talking about the other day when I had a weird legume craving, I could say, I only wanted one thing from the grocery store. Peanuts. Lastly, a colon can introduce a quote. So, my friend Liz says it best. Never open a jar of pickles you can't close. I'm not really sure what that means, but she does say it best. So, as you can see, like it was in the first couple example sentences, there's kind of information missing from the first parts of all 3 of these sentences. We needed to find 3 more items on the scavenger hunt. Well, what did you need to find? Or, I only wanted one thing from the grocery store. What did you want? Or, my friend Liz says it best. Well, what does she say? That's where the colon comes in, to introduce that missing information. So there's one final case of the linking function of the colon that I want to get into in this video. If you remember from the beginning of the video, I said that colons can introduce an independent clause to another independent clause sometimes. That's pretty rare. Usually that's the job of a comma and a conjunction, or maybe a semicolon, but as always, it's still important for you to know even the things that don't happen all that often. Something like, remember to take off your sunglasses when you drive through a tunnel. You can't see when it's that dark. The colon in this example shows that you can't see when it's that dark is an explanation of why you need to take off your sunglasses. This is one of the 2 types of sentences where it makes sense to have a colon between 2 parts of the sentence that could stand on their own as individual sentences. So we can say, 1, the second part explains the first part. The other case is when the second part of the sentence is emphasized. So this would be something like, I drank way too much soda. I'm never going to fall asleep. These are 2 independent clauses that could be their own sentences, but they're closely related enough that it makes sense to have them connected as one. So the colon links them together. And the second part is emphasized, right? That's the focus of the sentence. I'm never going to fall asleep. So in these 2 sentences, we can see that the colon can connect to parts that can stand alone as their own sentences, right? Whether it's 2 independent clauses, like in the second sentence, or an independent clause that's technically connected to a dependent clause, but can stand alone. Now, okay, this usage is really uncommon. I really want to stress that. Usually, when we're uniting two independent clauses, or at least two parts of a sentence that can stand on their own as individual sentences, we're going to use a comma and a conjunction, or a semicolon. But in the case that the second clause or the second part of the sentence is emphasized or explaining the first clause, then you'll want to use a colon. Just keep that in mind. Usually this independent to independent clause linking happens with a semicolon and not a colon. But regardless, this is important to know. It's possible in these specific cases. What's most important for you to take away is that the colon can link things and introduce things as part of its many functions. And that's the linking function of the colon. We've got independent clauses, dependent clauses, phrases, words, and introductions for lists and items and quotes. You can learn anything. Page out.
So after watching that video, we saw that there were several functions of a colon in a sentence. Can you answer the question, what is the function of a colon in a sentence? It has many jobs. What can they be? Think back to that video. They can introduce lists. They can introduce a single item. They can introduce a quotation. They can connect two dependent clauses that are closely related. All sorts of things that a colon can do in a sentence. So let's look at this practice for a moment. Which sentence uses a colon incorrectly? So we know from watching the video that there are several correct ways to use a colon. So what we want to identify is which sentence uses the colon incorrectly, which one is not right. Sentence A says, I have 3 chores today, colon, mowing the lawn, folding my laundry, and cleaning the bathroom. Sentence B says, Arundi likes her pizza with colon, pepperoni, mushrooms, and anchovies. Sentence C, bring the following items to class, colon, a pencil, a ruler, and scissors. Sentence D, the mayor made a proclamation at the meeting, colon, quote, October 5th will be a community service day, a day to show pride in our neighborhoods and support for our neighbors. So out of these 4 sentences, which one uses the colon incorrectly? Take a minute to think about that. The incorrect answer is B. Okay, Arundi likes her pizza with, we don't need the colon here. We don't have to separate that part because we use this preposition here. Arundi likes her pizza with pepperoni, mushrooms, and anchovies. Okay, I don't have to have this colon. So I could say, Arundi likes 3 things on her pizza, colon, pepperoni, mushrooms, and anchovies. But because of the way this sentence is written, the first part of the sentence, Arundi likes her pizza with, that would not be an independent clause, so we can't use a colon there. This sentence B is incorrect. So now let's think about rewriting a sentence using a colon to clarify the meaning of the sentence. So for example, Jesse went to the movies with 4 friends, 1 from school, 1 from the community center, and 2 from his soccer team. So take a few seconds to look at this sentence, maybe jot down on a piece of paper, how could you rewrite this sentence using a colon to clarify its meaning? Your sentence should look like this. We don't really have to change much. Jesse went to the movies with 4 friends, colon, 1 from school, 1 from the community center, and 2 from his soccer team. It's telling which 4 friends, 1, 2, 3, 4. It gives us a list of who he went to the movies with. So we're going to watch another video. This one's a little bit shorter, but I want you to just kind of jot down as you're watching this video how many other functions of the colon you can find in this short video clip. So jot down your answers on a little piece of paper.
Hello, grammarians! So today we're going to talk about the third and final function of the colon. So this final function of the colon is that it can be used as a separator. So it might sound like we're talking about the comma again, right? The comma separates elements of a sentence, but the colon does it in kind of a different way. So let's look at some examples. So one common use of the colon as a separator is in titles. So you can have two separate parts of the title, or like a title and a subtitle for a book or a movie or a TV show, and there will be a colon in between them. We can have something like Bear Man, Adventures in Alaska. Another common use of the colon as a separator is in citations from a book or a poem, and pretty often the Bible. For example, we can use it to separate the number of a Bible chapter from the number of the verse. If we want to reference 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4, we can write it like 1 Corinthians 13, 4. Finally, we can use the colon to separate the hour from the minutes in the time of day. If I want to tell someone what time it is, I can say, it is now 10:09 a.m. And between the 10, which is the hour of the day, and 09, which is the minutes, we put a colon. So that's how the colon works as a separator. We can use it in titles, citations, and times. You can learn anything. Page out.
So what did you catch? How many different functions of the colon were talked about in that short video? There were three. There were three main kinds as in titles for books or movies, in references, and as a separator for time. So three more functions in addition to all of the functions we talked about in the first video. So colons are quite useful, have a wide variety of uses in our writing. So let's look at this one more practice piece. This question asks you which answer correctly uses a colon to introduce a direct quotation. So two things I noticed right away from the question. First of all, I'm looking for the correct sentence. So the last practice we did asked us for the incorrect sentence. This one is asking us first for the correct use of a colon. And secondly, we're looking for a specific use, which is to introduce a direct quotation. So we're looking for a colon that introduces a direct quotation and that does it correctly. So let's look at our answer choices. A, the teacher announced, colon, click your mouse on start to begin the test now. B, the critic gave the play high praise when she wrote, the set is stunning, the music is moving, and the director has chosen the most talented cast ever assembled on his stage. C, scouts from all over the country were calling the basketball players saying, come join my team. And D, Abraham Lincoln wrote about freedom for all people in the Gettysburg Address, colon, 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this new continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. So which one correctly uses a colon to introduce a direct quotation? Remember, we need the first half of the sentence to be a complete thought, a dependent clause, in order to use that colon. So which one of these sentences gives us the complete thought at the beginning of the sentence where if I left the second half off, it would still make sense? What's our best answer here? The best answer is D. The problem with A is that if I just say the teacher announced, that's not an independent clause. So what I would use here would just be a comma. The teacher announced, comma, click your mouse on start to begin the test now. The same is for answer choice B. The critic gave the play high praise when she wrote. If I stopped there, that's a fragment. So I can't use a colon there. Again, I would go with a comma. The critic gave the play high praise when she wrote, comma, the set is stunning, the music is moving, and the director has chosen the most talented cast ever assembled on this stage. C, same rule. Scouts from all over the country were calling the basketball player saying. If I stop there, that sentence doesn't make sense. So again, I would put a comma, calling the basketball player saying, comma, come join my team. Or if they had left one word out of this answer choice C, I could have used that colon. I could have said, scouts from all over the country were calling the basketball player, colon, come join my team. If I leave this word out, saying, if I leave that out, then I can just put the colon and the quotation. But because they added that word in there, saying, now that makes this a dependent clause, and I have to use a comma here rather than a conjunction, or rather than a colon, I'm sorry. Answer choice D was our correct answer. We have a complete sentence, an independent clause at the beginning. Abraham Lincoln wrote about freedom for all people in the Gettysburg Address. I could put a period there and I would have no problem, but I want to tag that quote on there. So here we do use the colon and then put the quote that we wanted to add. So that's it for our colons lesson. You've got some practice with this in your course. Make sure this is something you're comfortable with because you will see it on your unit test. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Have a great week.